everybody, and I hope you're having an amazing week. Once again, I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. First of all, seriously guys, I cannot thank you enough for the support and attention that my first video got. I honestly was not expecting that much traction, and it really just means the world to me, guys. Thank you so much. I also wanted to address a few things from my previous video. I realized that sometimes my voice can make the video a little quiet. I tried a lot harder to make myself more clear in this video, so let me know if I'm improving on the quality. Also, I got a lot of comments calling me out for my video basically just being a summary of the movie instead of an analysis, and anyone who said that would be absolutely correct. The title was misleading, and the last thing I want to do is clickbait anyone, so I am very sorry for that. Tried to make this video true to the title, and I really hope you guys like it. Once again, if you guys do enjoy this video, please consider dropping a like and possibly even a comment about your favorite part of the video, or just to share your thoughts on the movie. Once again, guys, thank you so much for everyone who took the time out of their day to comment and like and subscribe. It is unreal to me. It's not that much, but it really does mean a lot. With everything out of the way, let's dive into the story of Taxi Driver. A couple nights ago, I watched the 1976 film Taxi Driver, directed by Martin Scorsese and written by Paul Schrader. Taxi Driver was a groundbreaking film for its time and will forever be known as a film of great importance. You wouldn't really expect a lot from a movie called Taxi Driver, and that's why I'll be explaining what makes this movie so important. Taxi Driver tells a story of loneliness, masculine insecurity, and eventually vigilantism, all throughout the perspective of a man in 1970s New York City. From this information alone, you can probably put a good image in your mind of what the overall vibe is going to be. I bet it looks a little bit something like this, and you would be correct in thinking so. Martin Scorsese does an incredible job of setting the right tone for this movie, just proven by the opening credits alone. The score of this movie is so atmospheric and perfectly encapsulates the world of this film we're about to see. The score is from the award-winning American composer Bernard Herrmann, who I must say, he is a goddamn genius. The cut to De Niro's face in the mirror, peering over the citizens of New York over the saxophone, just sends shivers down my spine every time I watch it, just knowing what this man is capable of in the world. But you wouldn't know that when you first jump into the movie, so let's dive a little deeper into our main character's story. The story of Taxi Drivers follows an average man named Travis Bickle. Travis is the epitome of a loner and suffers from insomnia, kind of like someone else we know. Travis drinks daily and is constantly hitting on women who are constantly turning him down. As he mentions to the taxi company in one of the first scenes, he's 26 years old and has had some education. Because he can't sleep, he constantly finds himself driving around at night, so he figures why not do what he already does but get paid for it. Smart man. Along with this, he goes to see pornographic films inside the theaters to keep his mind occupied in the dead of night when he can't sleep. Travis always writes in a journal, and through these we get to dive into the mind of Travis personally. With everything we know so far about him, you wouldn't really expect much out of him. He's your average New York taxi driver living in the 70s, trying to make a living anytime he can. He hopes to one day meet the right person for him, as most people do, and shares his personal thoughts in a journal. Although Travis is your run-of-the-mill average person, he has a skewed view of the world around him. He dreams of one day cleaning up the scum and the garbage from the streets.
Someday a real rain will come and wash all the scum off the streets.
This will later take Travis's life down an interesting path. But we'll get to that later. Later on in the film, Travis goes to meet up with some fellow cabbies at what appears to be a diner. We can clearly see from the scene alone why Travis sticks out from the rest. Whenever someone asks him something, he'll take a while to respond or just not respond at all. He seems like he's getting distracted by something that nobody else can see or something off screen. The guys talk about all normal stuff that guys would, like girls and drugs and experiences they had throughout the day. But Travis doesn't entertain these conversations. Travis seems disconnected from the reality put before him. This is until he stumbles across a woman through a crowd in New York. A woman we only know as Betsy. Before even talking to her, Travis puts Betsy on a pedestal and assumes things about her life that we wouldn't even know. He writes about her in his journal, which isn't completely weird, but with some of the things that he says about her, the audience can tell that something isn't right with him.
They cannot touch her.
One day, Travis finds himself posted out right outside the campaign office that Betsy works at, watching her every move. Betsy notices that someone is watching them, and I mean, Come on, Travis, this is the most conspicuous spot you could have chosen if you were going to stalk someone. He didn't even try. Betsy mentions to her work friend, Tom, that a cab driver has been watching them. So Tom goes to tell Travis to move, but Travis drives away right before he could be confronted. Now, for me personally, this is a truly disturbing scene if you think about it. I started to realize the true nature of Travis Bickle. This is the first event in which he acts like a hypocrite and goes against everything that he talks about throughout this movie. He is stalking Betsy here, and he can't even admit it to himself that he just may be part of the scum that he talks about cleaning up. Weirdly enough, Travis decides to go into the office to talk to Betsy in another day. He has to volunteer for the politician that she's representing, but mentions that he knows jack squat about politics. He makes assumptions about Betsy to her face directly.
I'll tell you why. I think you're a lonely person. I drive by this place a lot, and I see you here. I see a lot of people around you, and I see all these phones and all this stuff on your desk. That means nothing. And then when I came inside and I met you, I saw in your eyes and I saw the way you carried yourself that you're not a happy person.
So he asks her out on a date for coffee and pie, and Betsy gives him a chance. On the date, Travis asks Betsy about Tom, and he notices that he probably feels something for Betsy too. He assumes that they have no real connection, even though we saw them getting along pretty well earlier in the movie. Travis continues to express his dislike for Tom without her ever even knowing him. We see here that Travis is attempting to take control of Betsy's life and tell her what he wants to hear. Due to Travis's relaxed manner, Betsy doesn't think that this is all that weird, but perfectly describes Travis's character to a T. She compares him to a musician who is both a prophet and a pusher, a walking contradiction. What Betsy means by this is a rather hyperbolized way to describe someone that is paradoxical in their own appearance. Travis insists on things being a certain way in life, as he mentions cleaning up the city, streets, and whatnot. But when confronted with such a situation, he rebels passively, but just continues to do something else. At the end of this date, Travis asks Betsy to go to a movie, and she accepts, as Travis hasn't done anything too weird at this point to make Betsy decline. However, you can see that she isn't really sure of him. Later that night, Travis picks up Charles Palantine in his cab, the senator running for president that Betsy works for. They converse, and Palantine asks Travis what in this world bothers him the most. Travis, with clearly no idea what he's talking about, just repeatedly says how he wishes the city would be cleaned up. In another scene that will be important later, a random girl enters Travis's cab for a second. She just asks him to get out of there as soon as possible. Before Travis could leave, a man takes the clearly troubled girl out of the car. Travis does and says nothing in the situation. He just sits there in silence and lets whatever will happen to this girl happen. With how much this man talks about cleaning up the city, you would think that maybe Travis would interfere here, but once again, he does not. Now, do you remember when I said Travis hasn't done anything too weird to scare Betsy away yet? Well, let's dive into Travis and Betsy's first date. What better place to take your first date than a pornographic movie? Understandably, Betsy leaves shortly after sitting down and tells Travis that taking her to a movie like this is like him asking her to just have sex with him. She leaves in the cab and makes it clear that she does not want to see or hear from Travis again. He tries to call her to apologize, trying to gaslight her into thinking she might have just had a virus.
Are you feeling better, or maybe you had a virus or something, a 24-hour virus? Would you like to have some dinner with me in the next, few days or something? Well, how about just a cup of coffee? I come by the headquarters or something, and we could. Okay. Did you get my flowers? And you didn't get them. Couldn't I send some flowers?
And after this, Betsy never answered for Travis again. Now, before we get into the next scene, I want to do a quick recap of everything that has happened so far with Travis and Betsy. He has stalked her outside her workplace. He's made assumptions about her, he's talked bad about her friend who he knows nothing about, and he took her to a pornographic film. With all this said, Travis barges into Betsy's place of work. He comes in saying that she'll go to hell for what she's done. He says that she's just like the rest of them and calls her cold and distant. All of this happening in front of her fellow co-workers. But everything that Betsy has done has been completely validated based on how Travis has acted around her. Later in the night, Travis picks up a mysterious man in his cab, who, fun fact, was actually played by Martin Scorsese himself. He has no other name, so we'll just call him Martin. Martin tells Travis to do nothing but sit there and wait. He tells Travis to look at the light in the window of a building where he notices the silhouette of a woman. Martin says this woman is his wife and that she's cheating on him with another man. He claims he's going to take a .44 Magnum and kill his wife because of this. Now, what does Travis do about this? Report it to the cops? Try to warn the man's wife? Try to stop the man or even convince him otherwise? Well, if you guessed all of the above, you'd be dead wrong. Travis, once again, does nothing to stop a possible murder from happening. So much for cleaning up the city of the filth and scum. In a scene that's probably later in the night, Travis meets up with the fellow cabbies once again at a diner. He talks to one in particular named Wizard. Before this, he notices a couple of women getting harassed, but decides to do absolutely nothing about it. Travis mentions to Wizard that he's really down and just wants to do something? Wizard clearly has no idea what he's talking about, making this an extremely uncomfortable and just awkward conversation between the two. Travis came to Wizard for advice with his life, and when he gave him advice, Travis just said it was the stupidest thing he's ever heard.
I don't know, that's about the dumbest thing I ever heard.
It's not Bertrand Russell, but what do you want? I'm a cabbie, you know? I mean, I don't even know what the you're talking about.
This once again shows how much of a living, breathing contradiction Travis really is, as he seeks for help, but always ends up doing the complete opposite thing that he should be doing. Not only this, but Travis talks about how people need to be better. They need to be healthier, but in the very next scene, he's making an absolutely garbage meal of bread, sugar, and syrup. Travis later writes in his journal about his loneliness. He says it follows him his whole life. He calls himself God's only man, and that there is no escape from this loneliness. One of the cabbies mentioned earlier in the film that Travis should look into purchasing a piece for his own protection. He declined earlier, but then we see him in this next scene doing just that. He immediately asks if he has a .44 Magnum, the gun that Martin earlier said he would kill his wife with. In the end, he ends up dropping hundreds of dollars on 4 guns, money he would have definitely spent elsewhere and in better health. He starts to practice with these guns, gets in shape by doing push-ups and pull-ups every day, putting fire under his forearm to learn to withstand pain. Although we start to see Travis working on his health for the better, he still wastes his time staying up all night watching pornos in a theater. This is the part where we begin to see Travis go down an even darker path than before. For reasons unknown, he goes to a Palatine campaign and acts suspicious around a bodyguard. With the bodyguard being a lot smarter than Travis, he puts on a fake persona and asks for Travis's information so that he can send him an application for the Secret Service. Obviously, this is a ruse for the bodyguard to look into Travis and not take any chances at a possible threat to the candidate. At the same time, we begin to hear how unholy Travis's thoughts and motives have become.
Here is a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum, the dogs, the filth, the shit. Here is someone who stood up. Here is...
I gotta say, that is terrifying to hear. I'll tell you personally that hearing a man like Travis Bickle speak of the world and society in this way, it's similar to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker or Edward Norton's narrator character of Fight Club, as their views on society just ended up resulting in mayhem and destruction. This speaks for itself when a man tries to rob a convenience store that Travis is in at the time. To stop this, he takes out one of his guns and just immediately shoots the criminal. Travis is trying to be some sort of vigilante here, but killing a man who hasn't hurt anyone yet is not justified for a vigilante at all. We learn in a letter that he writes to his parents that he's been lying to them about his life as well. He claims to work for the government and even claims to be in a long-lasting relationship with Betsy. Travis is a liar. He lies to the most important people in his life, and he tries to make everything go his way. He hangs up posters in his apartment for Palatine, even though he has no interest in politics or Palatine at all. It all goes back to Betsy and what he thought her rejection really meant to him. He's in the mindset of cleaning up the scum in the world, but this dream has almost got distorted by his rejection by Betsy. It overlapped his true desire and turned itself into a revenge trope instead, replacing the real scum with the people and the things that he now sees as scum. You see, this movie contains 2 plot lines, one of Travis and his lust for Betsy, and then the plotline of Travis and a prostitute. This would be the character of Iris, who was the one that got into his cab earlier asking to get out of there. Iris is a 12-year-old prostitute. To make an attempt at helping Iris, he pays to have time with her, but instead of having intercourse, he tries to get her out of her horrible situation. While with her, he asks if they can meet for breakfast tomorrow, and talks more about their time together as it is limited here. During breakfast, Travis tries to get Iris to go back to her parents and live a normal life that every little girl should. Travis mentions the guy who pulled Iris out of his cab originally, who is also in charge of the ring that Iris works for. This man's name is Matthew, but Iris just refers to him as Sport. Travis says that Sport is a killer and a dope shooter. He calls him the scum of the earth and the worst possible person to ever exist. Keep in mind that Travis has had a singular conversation with this man, but claims to know much more about him. He even lies to Iris, saying that Sport called her names to get her to turn against him. Travis is technically doing the right thing here. He is trying to get a troubled girl out of trouble to be her savior by any means necessary. They make a plan to get her out, and Travis promises that he'll give her all of his money because he's going to go away for a while. We have no idea where Travis is planning to go, as he hasn't mentioned it yet. But we realize in the next scene that the place he's going is either jail or 6 feet under the ground. He is about to commit something seriously unholy. With everything settled with Iris and his plan ready to take place, we begin to see what Travis is going to do. He burns the flowers that Betsy sent him back, leaves a final note for Iris with some money, shaves his head into a mohawk, and arrives at a Palatine campaign, strapped and unrecognizable. As Palatine is leaving, Travis draws closer and reaches into his jacket to take out a gun and assassinate Palatine. One of the bodyguards notices Travis's behavior and quickly sends agents in the way of Travis to stop him. Travis's plan to get revenge on Betsy goes wrong and seeks his backup plan almost immediately. This would be Iris's situation. He goes to the ring and talks to Matthew for a little bit in a demeaning way before shooting him in the chest and proceeding into the building. Travis kills everybody inside, taking a couple bullets and using all 4 of his guns and ammo. Iris witnesses all of these events unfold, and Travis proceeds to pull a gun on himself. However, he's out of ammo. He sits there and waits for the cops to arrive, presuming his life is now over, but he saved Iris. What Travis did here was not helping Iris at all. He only gave her more trauma of watching the only people who ever took care of her get killed right before her eyes, and almost Travis as well, someone who she saw as a friend. Surprisingly, these events turned out to have a completely different outcome, and Travis was seen by the public as a hero. Someone like Travis, with his mindset, should never be praised, even by accident. Travis wanted to cause pain in the world around him, but instead was put in the news labeled as a hero. Needless to say, Travis will most likely do something like this again. The movie ends with one more scene of Travis driving his taxi, only for Betsy to get in and start talking to Travis. She says that she saw him in the news and tries to rekindle what they almost had. Travis drops off Betsy and the movie ends, leaving the outcome of Travis Bickle's life open-ended, but terrifying to say the least. Now, when I first saw this ending, I assumed that it had to be a hallucination or something like a dream state. It couldn't possibly be real, as it didn't seem like Betsy's character to do something like this under the circumstances, and even the chances of her getting in Travis's cab out of all the cabs in New York City were slim to none. I thought that maybe Travis really did die or went into a coma and this is what he was seeing. However, the genius director himself, Martin Scorsese, states that Travis survived the shootout, and the chances of him going off the rails again is highly likely. Scorsese leaves the viewers with one last sadistic glare from Travis, leaving the viewers to decide what will happen next in this man's life. Thank you so much, everybody, if you stuck around until the end of the video. This was a really fun movie to analyze and just go through again and watch and edit. The first time I watched it, it just I don't know, it just felt like really weird, and I wasn't even sure if I liked the movie. And then I kept watching it, and I watched it again, and I looked at clips, and I was just like, I'm starting to understand what this one's about. Also, guys, I know it's been almost 2 weeks as of the time I'm recording this since I've uploaded my last video, and I gotta say, that's not ever gonna happen again. I just had no idea that my first video was gonna do that well, and I'm in school right now, so I can't really dedicate all my time to this as it's not a full-time thing. But who knows, maybe one day it will be, so keep supporting me, keep watching, keep liking, keep doing all that you do, and you guys are great. Also, I understand if my audio right now sounds weird. I recorded the voice lines for the video a while ago, and I can't seem to find the mic that I use for that, so I am using a backup for this outro. Final thing, I just wanted to thank Audio Library, Chillpeach, Kevin Lynch, and Sadens for letting me use their videos in this video. Their links will be down in the description alongside some of my other friends' work. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon. Peace.